We've made it to the second half of the 1.5 update for Zenless Zone Zero, and alongside Evelyn's debut, we're also getting Qingyi's rerun. I missed out on her the first time because I really wanted to pull for Jane, but I could safely say she's one of the best stun characters to have in the game. So if you've been looking for a Qingyi build guide, I got you. We're going to be covering all the upgrade materials you're going to need, what skills prioritize upgrading first, on top of a full kit breakdown, your W engine options, what disk drives you want to look for, best teams, and more. Let's not waste any time and dive right into it. Like I said, I don't have Qingyi. To be honest, I might skip her to pull for Evelyn again, but if you are debating on getting her and you want a stun character, her strengths do include having a stun multiplier on enemies so you can deal more damage while they're stunned. Number 2, she has great crowd control and can stun multiple enemies at once. Number 3, she actually deals decent damage despite not being a DPS character. If you haven't seen videos of a DPS Qingyi, it's actually insane. Number 4, her enhanced basic attack cannot be interrupted, so you can do the entire animation without getting knocked out of it. And lastly, she only needs an attack unit to activate her additional ability, which makes her pretty versatile. Just to recap, Qingyi is an electric stun character under the Criminal Investigation Special Response team, and she has a focus on impact. And if you want to get her up to max level, here are all the materials you're going to need. For these stun chips, all you have to do is come to the HIA and do combat simulation, go under age of promotion here, and then do the stun drill. For what skills prioritize upgrading on Qingyi, definitely her core skill, that is a big one here. Next, I would do your basic attack, then your special attack, your chain attack, and dodge, and then lastly, assist. And here are all the materials you're going to need to upgrade all of these skills. For the electric chips, come back to combat simulation, go under agent skill, and then do the current test. For your expert challenge material, you're going to need to fight the notorious armed Haiti for this material. For the notorious hunt boss, you're going to need to fight the unknown corruption complex for its material. To maximize Qingyi's potential, we need to understand exactly how her kit works. One of the main skills you're going to use is her basic attack Pen Ultimate, which is 4 strikes dealing physical and then electric damage, but during the third hit, as long as you keep pressing your basic attack button, you can essentially continue this attack and continue stunning them, building up the stun meter. It's really good for crowd control. Using a dodge during this does not interrupt the basic attack combo count, so you can just go right back into it, and then if you stop pressing the basic attack button, it'll follow up with the 4th hit. Also, under special attack, mainly the X special attack, Moonlit Begonia. As long as you have energy for the attack, you can activate it, which you'll do an uppercut and then smash downward, dealing some electric damage. But if you have energy afterwards, you can actually hold the button to consume additional energy, which increases the amount of hits, and you follow up right into the 3rd hit of the basic attack after this attack. Now, the reason I mentioned those 2 attacks, number 1, because the 3rd hit of the basic attack is going to build up a lot of stun, but the other thing it does is build up what's called Flash Connect. If you look under Qingyi's character icon, there's actually a bar there. Now, when you deal electric damage from any skill, it'll actually accumulate what's called Flash Connect voltage. When that voltage reaches at least 75%, she'll enter what's called the Flash Connect state. This will allow you to use her enhanced basic attack, Enchanted Moonlit Blossoms. As long as that bar is over 75%, you can actually hold your basic attack and launch 5 consecutive forward rush attacks and then execute a finishing move that inflicts massive electric damage. Now, once you use the attack, you will exit the Flash Connect state, but the reason it's important is because, number 1, for every 1% of the Flash Connect voltage consumed over that 75%, her damage and days inflicted by the skill will be increased by 1% for damage and 0.5% for days, which means the more percentage you have, the more damage and days you'll be able to inflict. And this leads into the core passive Eternal Season. So when she lands that finishing move with the enhanced basic attack, it applies 5 stacks of subjugation to the enemy, stacking up to 20 times. Each stack of subjugation increases the target's stun damage multiplier by 2% base, but if you upgrade it all the way, it will be 4%. For each rush attack performed during the enhanced basic attack, the finishing move will apply 1 extra stack of subjugation. If a perfect dodge is triggered when using the finishing move, it applies 10 stacks of subjugation. When applying subjugation to normal and elite enemies, the target receives double the stacks. When the target recovers from being stunned, the corresponding stacks of subjugation are reset. So the loop is pretty simple. Use the basic attack 3, use the X special attack, deal some electric damage, build up the Flash Connect voltage. Once it's over 75%, I would recommend trying to max it out as much as possible. Then follow up with the held basic attack for the Enchanted Moonlit Blossoms attack. Hit all 5 of those, have a bigger stun damage multiplier, have increased attack, have increased days, and stun the enemy pretty much immediately. Now for her additional ability, like I said, you can have an attack character on your team, or if they're in the same faction, that will work as well. But if you have this activated, her basic attacks deal 20% increased days. If Qingyi's impact is greater than 120, each point over increases her attack by 6 up to a maximum of 6 100. So as long as you have high impact, she will also have a higher attack. Under your dodge, the main thing to note is the dodge counter, where you deal electric damage, which is going to help build up that flash connect voltage. Under assist, main thing to note is that you have a defense assist. And under chain attack, number 1, for your chain attack, again, you'll launch a series of powerful strikes over a large area, but when this attack hits an enemy, the skill's damage increases by 3% for every stack of subjugation in core passive Eternal Seasons the target has. So the chain attack can deal some decent damage as well, and the ultimate is pretty good too. Again, you launch that series of powerful attacks, dealing 4 electric damage. So just to reiterate on Qingyi's damage rotation, like I said previously, it is very simple. And again, depending on what team you have, you might want to switch a couple of things up, but the main thing here is to be able to use her to stun the enemy fast, switch your attack character to deal the main damage. So use that basic attack 3, use a dodge counter, use your X special attack and follow up with the 3rd basic attack hit to build up the flash connect voltage. Once you're 75% or higher on that bar, hold your basic attack to perform Enchanted Moonlit Blossoms to deal some massive daze to the target. If the target is not stunned, don't worry, just repeat those attacks until they are stunned. The main thing I would try to focus on is making sure that the final hit before the chain attack happens is with the Enchanted Moonlit Blossom, so you have the increased stun multiplier from the core passive. Once that's done, use your chain attacks, switch to your attack character, deal your main DPS, and you're good to go. Again, during that, if you switch to your support character, you want to switch to your attack character to get some other damage in. Again, that is totally fine. The main thing with Qingyi is that we want to be able to stun the enemy fast and then deal the big damage. For Qingyi's best W engine options, her Ice-Jade Teapot signature is going to be your best bet. You get a flat attack and an impact percentage bump, and with this perk, Ringing Melody, when the basic attack hits an enemy, you gain 1 stack of what's called Terrific. With each stack of it, it increases the user's impact by 0.7%, again note this is at rank 1, stacking up to 30 times and lasting for 8 seconds. The duration of each stack is calculated separately. Upon acquiring Terrific, if the equipper possesses stacks of Terrific greater than or equal to 15, all squad members' damage is increased by 20% for 10 seconds. So not only do you get that impact percentage increase, you can also buff your team. If you don't want to pull for her signature, you do have 2 other S rank options. The first one being Lycon's signature, the Restrained. You get a base attack and an impact percentage bump, and with this perk, Binding Chains, when an attack hits an enemy, damage and daze from basic attacks increases by 6% for 8 seconds, stacking up to 5 times. Your other option would be Coletta's signature engine, Hellfire Gears. Again, you get a base attack and an impact percentage bump, and with this perk, Passionate Construction, when off field, the equipper's energy regen increases by 0.6 per second. When using an X special attack, the equipper's impact is increased by 10% for 10 seconds, stacking up to 2 times. If you don't have any S rank engines, don't worry, there are a couple of A rank ones you can use. The first one being Steam Oven. You get a base attack and an energy regen percentage bump, and with this perk, Thick Broth, for every 10 energy accumulated, the equipper's impact is increased by 2%, stacking up to 8 times. After energy is consumed, this bonus remains for 8 more seconds. Next would be Precious Fossilized Core. You get a base attack and an impact percentage bump. With this perk, Behemoth Hunter, when the target's HP is no lower than 50%, the equipper inflicts 10% more daze to the target, and when the target's HP is no lower than 75%, this bonus is further increased by 10%. The last one I'll mention is 6-Shooter from the Battle Pass. You get a base attack and an impact percentage bump, and with this perk, Fire, the equipper gains 1 charge stack every 3 seconds, stacking up to 6 times. When launching an X special attack, it consumes all charge stacks, and each stack consumed increases the skill's daze inflicted by 4%. For Qingyi's best drive disc options, you're looking for 4-piece Shockstar Disco with either 2-piece Swing Jazz or 2-piece Thunder Metal. With Shockstar Disco, at 2 pieces you get an impact percentage bump of 6%, but at 4 pieces, your basic attack, dash attacks, and dodge counters inflict 20% more daze to the main target, which is obviously going to be good for Qingyi. I would say if you're not going for DPS Qingyi, having 2-piece Swing Jazz is pretty good to have that X special attack up, because at 2 pieces you get an energy regen percentage bump of 20%. But if you want to do DPS Qingyi, having 2-piece Thunder Metal is good because you get an electric damage bump of 10%. For your disc main stats, at your 4th disc, you're either going to want crit rate or crit damage, at your 5th disc, electric damage or pen ratio, and at the 6th disc, impact. For your disc substats, we're looking for crit rate, crit damage, attack percentage, and then pen. For Qingyi's best team options, if you're a free-to-play player, pairing her up with Nicole and Billy with the Sumo Boo is pretty good. Like I mentioned, Qingyi can be used on any team as long as you have an attack agent, and then Nicole and Billy can activate their additional abilities, so this is your best free-to-play option. For the Qingyi faction team, pairing her up with Astra and Zhu Yuan with the Resina Boo is perfect. Qingyi pairing up with Zhu Yuan is great, but then adding Astra in there as well with the quick assist and the extra damage is fantastic. Plus, Zhu Yuan's core skill can deal more damage to stunned enemies, so this team just synergizes really well. Or if you want the Qingyi electric team, just replacing Zhu Yuan for Haramasa and then the Plug Boo is really good as well. You could do even the mono electric team with Rina, but the main thing here, again, is still being able to stun the enemy fast and then using Haramasa's core passive to have the increased damage to those stunned targets. There are definitely plenty of other team options that she can work on, so if there's one that I didn't mention that you like using, definitely let me know in the comments. The last thing I want to talk about is Qingyi's Mindscape Cinema and whether it's worth getting multiple copies of her. For her M1 installation breakdown, when Qingyi enters combat, the Flash Connect voltage is instantly restored to its max and the accumulation rate is increased by 30%. When using her basic attack, Enchanted Moonlit Blossoms, if Flash Connect voltage is at its maximum, the attack will reduce the defense of the enemy it hits by 15%, and Qingyi's crit rate against the enemy will increase by 20% for 15 seconds. Her M2, minimal effort, maximum impact. The stun damage multiplier increase provided by each stack of subjugation from her core passive increases to 135% of its original value. When Qingyi's attack hits an enemy and the stacks of subjugation she applies reaches its max stacks, her Daze dealt to the target increases by 15%. Her M3, Drink Hot Water, is just the +2 level bump to all of her skills. Her M4, Stable Arc Barrier. Upon entering or exiting the Flash Connect state, gain a shield equal to 10% of Qingyi's max HP. If a previous shield is still active, when the shield effect refreshes, Qingyi generates 5 energy. This energy generation effect can be triggered once every 10 seconds. Her M5, Youthful Spirit, is another +2 level bump to all of her skills. And lastly, her M6, 8 Meridians. The interrupt level of basic attack Enchanted Moonlit Clouds is greatly increased and the crit damage is increased by an additional 100%. When Qingyi hits an enemy with her basic attack Enchanted Moonlit Blossom, the target's attribute damage res is reduced by 20% for 15 seconds. This is where DPS Qingyi would come into play. Overall, I'd say her M1 and M2 are great stopping points. M1 giving you the Flash Connect state right off the bat, reducing the enemy's defense, having the increased crit rate, and then M2 further, helping Qingyi stun damage multiplier and Daze to the target. Her M4 is okay, but we already have other characters, like Caesar and Seth that can provide a shield to you, so this one really isn't necessary. And if you want to go all the way to M6, just know you could focus on DPS Qingyi and deal some crazy damage. That, ladies and gentlemen, is my Qingyi 1.5 build guide and kit breakdown. For my final thoughts, like I said, it is a little hypocritical of me to say Qingyi's the best stun character and me not having her. I really wanted Jane in that second half of the update, so I was saving as much polychrome and pulls as I possibly could. I did get Jane M2 and her engine, so it was kind of worth it in the end. But if you're someone who likes using characters like Zhu Yuan, characters like Haramasa, if you got Haramasa for free during 1.4 in the beginning of this current update, Qingyi is a great option for those attack characters. I know anomaly characters are still the move right now. Miyabi absolutely slammed. It is what it is on that front of it, but Qingyi being able to help out those attack characters I think is fantastic. So if you don't have Lighter, you don't like using Lycon a lot, Qingyi is the best option. Let me know in the comments, are you pulling for Qingyi or are you using your pulls on Evelyn like I am, or are you just skipping this part of the update entirely and moving on to the next update where we're getting Silver Soldier Ambi and Trigger as our S rank agents and also Pokra as our A rank. In any event, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like on it, subscribe to the channel, and turn on that bell next to notifications so you don't miss out on any other Zenless Zone Zero content we have coming out on the channel. If you didn't know, we live stream here on the channel and also over on Twitch. That link will be in the description. There are drops occasionally for Zenless Zone Zero, so if you want some extra polychrome and some other rewards, be sure to tune in to the stream. Also, be sure to join my Discord. If you got a great stat roll, if you have a good build going for a character, if you have a clip you want to share, we have an entire channel dedicated to Zenless Zone Zero. But we also talk about a variety of other games on top of PC tech, anime, and more. Lastly, if you want to help support the channel even more, you can look into becoming a member. Now, if you don't know what a membership is, it's essentially like a Twitch subscription. Granted, it's cheaper over here on YouTube, but you're going to get access to the exclusive emotes, the monthly badges, and other cool stuff, including early access to all my long-form videos. So if you'd like more information, all you have to do is press the join button next subscribe, and that'll give you a rundown with all the details you need. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been your boy. We'll catch you in the next video.